What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Incredible Events Podcast. I'm Jay, your host. I'm coming to you from a guest studio in Las Vegas where I've been for a while. It's been a pretty great month and 2 months or whatever, however long I've been here. I don't know. Time does not really work in Vegas, in case you don't know. And I'm just doing some podcasts here, and sometimes personal stories are the way to go. So I was talking with some people, and they were like, "What was your worst show ever?" Worst event ever would have been my first event. So I'm going to tell you, I'm going to lay the groundwork out here. All right. So my first event was pre social media, pre big communication, not pre cell phone, but pre like mass cell phone, pre mass text. I mean, I was super young. I was a teenager when I did this event. So it was called Rappaz, RAPPAZ, because we're cool, Reality. And it was at a venue that held about 600, if I remember properly, 650 people or so. And it was called a Rendezvous. And I busted my ass selling this show. I mean, I had my dad do photography sessions with the talent. I got every act imaginable. We had the top, X number of songs, top 100 songs of hip hop or something. I went all over the city selling tickets, just like, here's your physical ticket, here's my physical money. And again, I'm a teenager. This is my first show ever, right? So mistakes are going to be made, but this is a pretty big one. So I basically kept a piece of paper or like a bunch of pieces of paper, and I wrote down a person's name, I wrote down their phone number, and I wrote down how many tickets they purchased from me. And the day of the show, I go for sound checks and all that, and I put the list down, like everything I had in my hands. I had a bunch of stuff with me, so I put it down on the table. I walk away, and I'm doing sound checks. I'm talking to people, and I'm trying to get in the vibe of like really having a great time with my show. And a couple hours later, I walk up to the table, and the list is gone. So now I'm kind of like, it's getting close to the show. I'm getting a little nervous, right? So I'm like, oh, I must have put it down somewhere else, or maybe somebody threw it out or whatever. I'm not even going to think about it. So then the show is like half an hour from doors opening. And I'm like, where are all the people? There's nobody lined up. Nobody's here. Like, I mean, a few people, right? But like, well, we're talking like 80 or 90 people. So I'm starting to freak out a little bit, right? And now my mom and my dad are at my show, and the doors open, very few people, and half an hour goes by, very few people. All the acts go up and they perform. We keep the show going for the people that are there, and I come to the realization, should have come to the realization sooner, but a couple hours into the event, that I'm not going to pay everybody because the list. What happened was, one of the acts that I had performing at the show, their manager and I got in a fight a couple weeks before. They still showed up to perform, but the manager saw my list and took the list and called the list and told people that the event was canceled. Now, keep in mind, if that were to happen today, that wouldn't happen today, right? We have a million different ways to communicate, but back then, it wasn't like that. Back then, I was a kid who could barely keep his cell phone on because he kept, lapsing on payments and stuff, right? So I had no idea until somebody finally, a couple friends of mine show up and they said, dude, like, what the hell? And then they tell me a story about how they got this phone call about it was canceled and all this. So they came to the venue just to like see what was going on. And yeah, so I lost about $25,000 that night. I'm a teenager running an event, and I had to call my grandma, and I had to ask her for the money, which was humbling, embarrassing. One of my biggest regrets, because I never got the chance to pay her back before she passed away fully. I didn't get a chance to pay her back fully. And it, everybody got paid, which was great. The show ended up, for the people that were there, they had a good time for the most part. I mean, it was a dead show, so you can only have so much of a good time. But the acts did their thing. The DJ did a great job. RIP to DJ Grasshopper. He was a DJ on the show. But it was a really valuable lesson. It taught me a lesson very quickly, and that is, one, don't ever do things like that again. And two, don't trust anyone that you don't know fully, that you don't know they have your best interest in mind. So that was my worst show. Lost $25,000. Ended up having to borrow the money from my grandmother. Had nobody show up. My competition got the best of me. I had all these people asking for refunds. It was hard. I remember going home, sitting in the basement of my parents' house and bawling my eyes out because I failed so miserably. And that show, I saw it as my chance to not be the failure that I was as a kid. Now, I look back on it today, and it's still gut wrenching to think about that show. Now, was it a valuable lesson? Did I lose money on shows after that? No. Every show at least broke even or made money, which is great, by the way. And that's because of that show. But here's the thing I'd like to say to you if you have a failure at your show, meaning a total failure, like a total system shutdown. You're going to think that you can't do the job. Don't. It's not that you can't do the job. It's just that you have some oversights that you have to deal with. So when you fail in event coordination, it can get out there pretty quickly, and it can make the next few events hard. The thing I will say is that if you threw a hip hop event and it failed miserably and everybody knows it, your next event should not be a hip hop event. You're going to have to do a different kind of event. Now, if hip hop is the only thing you want to do, then maybe start working on other events with other people. Don't do your own for a while, just so you can build up your street cred again. But ultimately, when you fail as hard as I failed with Rap is Reality, you have to look at the objectivity of the moment, and you have to say to yourself, what can I honestly do? Can I do anything to improve on this? Now, obviously, my improvement was very clear what I had to do, and that's why I continued. But if nobody had shown up because of something else, I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but something that I couldn't necessarily control or I couldn't quantify, then I wouldn't have gone on to do a show that summer. That summer, I did another show. It was called Graham Beach 90 Degrees of Hip Hop. It was a smaller show. I scaled back. I did a smaller show, and we did a good job. We had a lot of people out. We had some great performances. It wasn't by any means a smash success, but it definitely set me up for future shows and to give me a little bit of confidence. So don't beat yourself up too hard if your show fails. Just do something about the failure. Beating your head against the wall, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. I mean, that's just crazy. That's insanity. Don't do that. If you fail, really assess, and then come back with something else, something stronger, something better, something different. And if that succeeds, you will get momentum and you'll be able to continue to go forward. So horrible, right? My worst event ever. You all will have your worst event ever. You always have your best and you'll have your worst. Never forget that worst event, because that worst event is what's going to help you be better in the future. All right, so that was my worst event, Rap is Reality. I'd love to hear from you guys, you event planners, about your worst events. Please let me know. Hit me up with comments, DMs, whatever. And if you got some value out of this podcast, please like, subscribe, listen to or watch other episodes. Leave us comments, leave us ratings, whatever. It all helps. And I'll be back with some more podcasts. And I can't wait, because I got some really great guests coming up that I know you guys are going to love. I'm going to get Danny Duggan back on the show, because we did our first show with him and the cameras weren't working so great, that the internet connection was kind of crappy. So we're going to get him back on and explore that some more. I'm sure we could have like 10 podcasts with Danny Duggan, and we've never tapped the well of knowledge that guy has for event planning. So lots of great stuff coming up. So make sure you subscribe. Thank you very much for tuning in and just listening to me talk for 15, 20 minutes. Greatly appreciated. I will talk to you guys soon. Later.